We are the Enemies of the Fire podcast, and on this week's episode, we are going to be talking about controversy in the U.S. Open Cup, controversy in Major League Soccer, controversy in the supporter section even. So, I am FC Neo Tokyo. That is DPG. That is James. Gentlemen, how are we doing this week?
Not too shabby. Chicago Fire coming off that point away.
Yes.
I gotta say, I mean, we talked about in our last show, but no, I was pleased with the results. But there's been some news that's happened. Gutman, do we save Chicago Fire for the end?
We're saving the fire talk. We're saving the fire talk.
I kind of like how we do that. I like how we do that. We build up to it.
We build up to the Chicago Fire. They gotta keep them wanting more, man.
It starts with a little foreplay, and then just a little good motion in the ocean. And then, bam, it's just a super long session. Flip them over, back on the other side, and we're talking fire here.
All right, I feel you, bud. Listen, so before we get to all of that, let's depress everybody.
Okay, so we have the DPG emotional roller coaster segment.
Oh, boy. Up. Oh, boy. I can't wait. So is this in any way, shape, or form related to the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup and the rumors to which the format of the competition will take?
No, I'm actually pissed off about that.
No roller coaster there.
That's not a roller coaster. That's just like a fist through a drywall type of thing.
Oh boy.
It's been pointed out.
I know. James, so have you heard James?
Yes, I heard. I'm a little upset, but also I'm wondering how much I do care. And they finally called my bluff. Because, I did watch U.S. Open Cup games, and I watched all the last U.S. Open Cup games because Chicago Fire kind of always try in the U.S. Open Cup games. So I was a little miffed why we didn't continue on with that. And to hear that Chicago Fire are not going to be able to partake in it this year and try and go for a fifth one while other clubs can, that feels like the Chicago Fire were robbed of an opportunity. And that feels wrong.
I 100% agree. So the rumor is, this isn't 100% official, but the rumor is that the top 8 seeded MLS clubs in the Supporter Shield standings that are not also in CCL are going to be in the U.S. Open Cup, which leaves the Chicago Fire on the outside looking in, which is pretty depressing because, like I said, we're one of probably 6 teams that actually super care about this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a bummer. I super care about it. Like, I remember having to drag my ex after a 12-hour shift of hers to a not even to a Tilted Kilt to have to watch the Fire play Seattle in the final of the U.S. Open Cup because I don't even remember why it was so hard to get, but I couldn't watch it at home.
Is it possible to get the U.S. Open Cup?
Yeah.
For some whatever reason.
Well, in the last couple of years, it's been on YouTube. That's been awesome.
Yep. Yes.
I mean,
the U.S. Open Cup is like, first of all, it's very historic for the Fire. Personally, I would watch U.S. Open Cup matches with the Fire religiously. I've gotten a couple of times where I've actually gone into a park and watched a Fire U.S. Open Cup with like 200-300 other people. The fact that the league pulled this, it's disappointing and frustrating. Because this is a tournament.
I don't want leagues or Nations League or Leagues Cup or whatever it is. I don't want it.
And I get it. It's a money grab because, they want to bring out those Liga MX fans. And that's fine. But if you're going to do that, at least give the option to teams that want to participate in the U.S. Open Cup. Give them that ability. Not just make your own rules on the fly because
8 teams,
you're more worried about, your financial outcome of different tournaments you're spread out.
Yeah, it's garbage. We have the CCL. Like, that's where we're supposed to play Liga MX teams. You know what I mean? Like, it's just irritating because we're at a historic race for 5.
Yeah,
it's us. Isn't it us? KC and Seattle are all tied at 4.
Correct.
We used to wear that moniker Kings of the Cup like a freaking crown around that place, man. We used to just like that was like here's even more That was the first ever Fire game I went to, was a US Open Cup game. They actually played down in Peoria. They played against Columbus Crew. That was the first Fire game I ever went to.
What was the scoreline?
We won in penalties.
Okay.
Kalen Carr played 120 minutes.
You know what? I still remember the U.S. Open Cup match where I forgot where they were playing. It was downstate, and I guess the Fire fans had brought in flares and smoke bombs or
the
whatever.
Khalil
The
Anibaba
Khalil
goal.
Anibaba
Yep.
had like midfield goal. That
Through
one
the
always sticks
smoke.
in my head.
That was beautiful.
There's
That was also that was the same place that I saw my first game, but that wasn't the one. It was years before that.
there was another one too. When they trashed Orlando City SC before they went into the MLS, they were still a USL team, and I think that was the one like Mike McGee. It was like a 5-1 route. Like Mike McGee scored. It was a beautiful. It was like it was like one of those games that are always gonna be stuck in your head because that was like a moment, you know. So
I'm bummed about it, man. For real. Like I even
Yeah.
remember the one that got like lightning and rained out, and so it was free the next day. I told work, I was like, I'm gonna go make some sales calls. So I drove down to Toyota Park, and at the time, and I had my tie and everything on. I'm watching the game.
Man, that's the thing. What I did today too is actually I reached out to my season ticket holder rep, and I told him like, keep in mind it was via text. I'm like, hey, look, I'm very disappointed and frustrated that the
I'm
Fire.
glad you did, because they take that information and move it up.
And I said that, and I told them on the text, I'm like, I want you to pass it on to whatever proper channels it is. But I'm disappointed and frustrated that the Fire could potentially not play in the U.S. Open Cup. So if you're like, send it up the chain, and I'm sure people did that today too. I'm hoping more people did that. So like, I need Joe Mansueto, I need George Heiss to go fight like hell and try to get MLS to let the Fire go on the U.S. Open Cup. Because we want to chase number 5.
I doubt Joe Mansueto was one of the owners that didn't want this.
No, hell no.
Let's make a promise as fans that we'll freaking attend one of these games and start demanding that, and then we'll say, hey, that's the olive branch that we will offer as fans, because I think this is one of the most not attended matches of their season. As you said,
but it's
you
hard,
said you were
dude,
there for you were there with like 200 people plus the staff.
And that's the thing. If you don't want to host it on Soldier Field, then host it at Toyota Park.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. Hell yeah.
I asked my brother, I'm like, hey, do you want to go to the home opener? First thing he asked me, is it going to be at Toyota Park? I'm like, no, it's going to be at Soldier Field. Maybe next time. Let me know when they play at Toyota Park.
That's what my brother's been saying. How
Boo.
wild is that?
I love Soldier Field, and I love going to Soldier Field. But
I have no horse in this race because I live out in the north suburbs. So either way,
either one is a pain for you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, and that's the thing. If you want to host it at Toyota Park, then by all means, maybe when you get to the semifinals,
then go back to Soldier Field. But
then go back to
sense.
Soldier Field.
I mean, Seattle does that. They have that place, Starfire or whatever, that they play games at. It's cool. It's a chance to, it just, everything about the U.S. Open Cup is cool and could be awesome, but no one's
it could be better.
Anything. It's heartbreaking.
And I think another thing I mentioned in the Fire server on Discord was, if there was any reason why supporter groups need to work together and protest, this is it. Like, get together, make a huge banner saying, you want the Fire in the U.S. Open Cup, and bring it to the home Open
Cup.
Why do we gotta do that, man? I just honestly, I'm thinking I just want to go to a game of soccer in the town that I live and enjoy the team that I watch. And maybe we win, and maybe we draw, and maybe we lose, but we make friends along the way. Yeah. Why is it gotta be so fucking hard?
Toke, we're lucky to have soccer. We're one of 28 cities that has an MLS team. Think about that. Amongst the myriad of cities in MLS, yet that we do not have a proper pyramid where a team like Detroit City can elevate to a point where they are feeling as happy as we are because their team is, real, so to speak.
Hashtag Boise for MLS.
Boy, have a blue
Boys
soccer
with
field.
MLS.
Have a blue soccer field too. That'd be pretty cool.
So that's my argument with the U.S. Open Cup. Like, look, I get it. MLS wants to make money. They wanna fill in their coffers, even though
Man,
charging.
US soccer got to eat too.
Yeah, U.S. soccer got to eat, and I get it.
For,
You're running out of cities to charge $500 million to have an MLS team.
Yeah,
I get it.
Real.
But come on.
For me, the bottom line is this was the wrong move at the wrong time. I can't stress that enough. The wrong move at the wrong time. I don't agree with it. I'm a little less passionate than you guys about it, as you guys can see, but at the same time, I feel like the Fire have been wronged, and that makes me passionate because I think they've been denied a proper chance for a trophy. If this does go through, they're failing to respect one of the oldest, coolest cups in the world. Yep. And that's just not properly marketed in the land of marketing. You can't find someone who could freaking market this shit. You're kidding me. You're kidding me. You want to know what the real problem is? The deep-seated problem is we got a leader like Don Garber who's done a lot for the sport, I got to say. He's done a lot to stabilize the sport, but to me, he still seems like a minion of football, where NFL football, a stooge, where he's like put here to keep soccer firmly in its place, right, sucking the nice cork soaking of the NFL, and I feel like that. I question his leadership now. I question that leadership, and because it's about the almighty dollar, and like this guy. This wrongs the fans more so than the clubs. It really robs the fans of an opportunity and they're like, oh, we got other games, we got other competition. Yeah, but they all fucking suck and they're corporate as shit. Yep. This was real. This was homegrown. This was a USA fucking flag on it. Pardon my French. But
James goes all American all over their ass.
You guys know me. That's what I am. You guys know me. That's what I'm a patriot at the end of the day. It's really what I am. That's why I support everybody. I try to support all the Americans, but as best I can. But I feel like this is a failure of MLS, and it's a failure on the U.S. Soccer Federation as well.
They had so much more power than they exhibited, which is wild.
There's a mega failure here that's illustrated on both sides. We can't just pretend that it's not U.S. Soccer's fault, that MLS is like, this isn't that valuable to us anymore, guys.
Well, it's U.S. Soccer's fault that this thing hasn't had a TV or a streaming deal for the last 10 years.
Valuable. It's not valued by these teams who are by these owners, by this league. And that's what's shocking, because it was valued by the fans on a weird basis, because I mean, honestly, it wasn't really supported by the gate. If you look at the gate ticket,
well, it did.
And that's what MLS is looking. But you guys said
it's
YouTube. It's on YouTube. All of a sudden, like, it's starting to gain traction. MLS is only like less than 25 years old, guys. Like, people don't fucking get this. Like, we haven't had these top flight competitions. And think about EPL. EPL's only since 1992.
This is the equivalent of the FA
the older league.
This is like the equivalent of the FA Cup. Every big league has some sort of tournament like this, where it's like an FA Cup style tournament. And going back to Don Garber,
1 minute on the clock, boys.
If he's pushing that, at that point you kind of have to question his leadership. Maybe it is time for him to step down. Maybe someone else needs to come in and bring this league to the next level.
The problem is we're romantics. He's doing an amazing job, and he's out in front of the rest of the world right now. And eventually there'll be a bunch of money funneling in, but it's going to be ugly, and it's going to be less fun, and there's going to be way less heart in the sport.
And this brings the whole argument about how maybe it's time for the MLS to be independent sports team owners. Where
I think so, 100%.
We're not relying on a centralized league to make decisions like this.
Right.
Leave it up to the teams. Sorry. Leave it up to the teams to decide if they want to go to the U.S. Open Cup or not. If a team like Cincinnati, Philadelphia, their schedule's booked, they don't need to send a team. Forget it. But if a team like the Fire, who pretty much just has the season and that tournament with the Liga MX, they will like to be in this tournament, So my thing is, leave it up to the teams. Don't let a committee of 4 people to decide this.
Right.
And boo Nelson
opportunity-
Rodriguez.
An opportunity
And
for
boo
silverware
Nelson
is an opportunity for silverware, and an opportunity for a commercial is right now. We'll catch you guys on the flip side of this, hanging out here on Enemies of the Fire, and we'll be coming back. We're gonna be talking. Let's see. We're gonna be talking anything MLS, USMNT, some stuff about Gio. We got Messi. We got Guti. We got Kuipers. We got Portland. And you'll see why later, coming up here on Enemies of the Fire. We'll catch you guys on the flip side.